happy to have everyone here today amidst such a strange time in humanity, this time of our lives, but we're so honored to have you here. And so before we get into the conversation, we do have a treat for everyone. We do want to show all the fans of His Dark Materials the trailer for season 2. So let's take a look at that right now.
Ooh.
You're not from here, are you? From this world?
It looks nice.
Neither am I.
There are multiple worlds up there, and people will be looking for her. Not all of them good.
I found her.
These troubled times call for the Magisterium to take control.
Best word, keep her safe.
This knife could
Rip his
cut
eye.
worlds.
Everyone's connected.
Lyra, how do you know about me?
You have something important to do.
The time has come to act.
Who that?
I believe we have no choice.
Bruh.
People are afraid of things they don't understand. These are strange
She
new
crazy.
times.
That looks sick.
I mean, obviously, the most gratifying thing is that the fans of the book have become fans of the television adaptation. It's the thing that you kind of dread. Are they going to like it or are they not? And the fans of His Dark Materials are really, really passionate and
I didn't even
clever
read the
and interested,
books.
engaged,
I don't know anything.
And they have lots of really good things to say. As we began to introduce Boreal crossing between the worlds, and there was a sense of, how's that happening? And the fact
Yep.
that Boreal was such a big character in season 1,
I think I'm still confused by him.
watched them put it all together until finally Boreal got put together with Will Parry, and we introduced Will, and the fans were then, okay, but he's not in it until The Subtle Knife. And then they saw us play out Will's backstory and saw what we were doing. That was probably, I mean, one of the most interactive and exciting audience experiences we could have hoped for. And we're just very proud that the fans responded. I'm pleased and relieved the fans responded in the way they did.
I'd love to shift over to Daphne. Hello, Daphne.
Hi.
We don't want to recap all of season 1 for people who may be just discovering the series, but it's suffice to say that she ends the season in almost a literal and figurative free fall. She has just had this epiphany about her family and her relationship with Mrs. Coulter. What would you describe as Lyra's state of mind now, going into season 2? How conflicted does she feel? The world and the family that she thought she knew has completely been upended. For me, it actually felt like a Darth Vader, Luke, Star Wars moment. It's like that sort of shock. Tell me what you think, where she is in her mindset, but also emotionally right now.
I feel like when you first meet Lyra, she's a very outgoing person. She trusts very easily. But going into season 2, after having realized that the only thing that gave her stability, which was the alethiometer and Roger, and now, like...
He did.
You and Daphne are the 2 younger actors here with us today who are in the series. Tell me a little bit about, first of all, your first impressions of each other. How did you bond, and what did you find similarities in each other?
Well, I mean, we met for the first time in Madrid. So I was filming in Prague at the time, and then when I got the part, they said, we want you to meet Daphne like pretty much straight away. So like in the next week, they flew me out to Madrid, and then we went out together. I think one thing we shared in common is that we both moved away from home, and we both have to live. We moved to Cardiff together, and we all shared the same things, like how we both hate school and all that stuff. And, going having
3 months off.
Oh.
At school for 3 months. It must have been great.
I'd love to talk to Ruth, who looks way too glam and had way too much of an advantage over the rest of us.
That's just how she looks.
It's just not fair.
Like every day. These are my pajamas.
So I'd love to talk about your character, and she is someone who I think, suffice to say, challenges our perception of good and evil. I find myself alternately sort of loathing her, but feeling for her, and still not understanding how we
Nah,
are
she
supposed to feel
weird.
about her, even at the end of
She
season
weird.
1. And I'm wondering, to what degree do you see her as a survivor of her circumstances, but also as the villain, sort of perpetuating this cycle of what I would say is sort of abuse and negativity, especially toward now this young woman who has entered her life in a meaningful way?
No, I think why this character fascinated me was, I mean, the best characters in fiction, always for me and to play, are ones you never truly understand. And I said to Philip, she's a bit like Hedda Gabler, Ibsen's Gabler. You don't ever get to know who she really is, or it's a struggle to work out who she is, and she's constantly
she's mental, that's who she is.
And confusing me, and her intentions are always mixed up and different from moment to moment. And I think that what was really joyful in this season to play with was to sort of get underneath her circumstances more. Why is she, or what she's had to deal with as a woman in a very male world, and the sacrifices she's had to make, and at what cost, which is really the cost of losing her daughter, really, or choosing something over her daughter. And I think that's been really interesting. I mean, and Philip digs into that in the book, but we were given more license to really go further. Jack really sort of dug into that, and I think that was really, really a lovely, or a really great thing, an angle to look at Mrs. Coulter and to see that side of her. Again, she does such horrific things. You need to sort of balance that with like reasons why, or potential reasons why, you know. And we know that by season 3 we see her as a completely different person, so you need to find the journey through the 3 seasons to discover how she gets to where she is by the end of the book.
Does she go good then?
So that was really glorious for us to kind of dig into this season, and it's much more about.
I can't really picture that at the moment.
She's on her own a lot, season 2.
She's just odd.
And so it's more about her relationship to herself and her monkey.
And Jane, I'm wondering if you can put in some perspective for the fans. You know, you had locked most of your episodes before the global pandemic took place, and obviously everything paused. Tell me a little bit about how that has affected the rollout of season 2, and if at all, and how the episodes have been impacted in terms of either the way they were cut. Did you have to lose footage? Tell us a little bit about that, because I'm sure it was not an easy time.
The good news is we have managed to keep going the whole way through the lockdown. We have the most amazing post-production team, and we are currently, touch wood, completely on course for transmitting when we would have transmitted. We had
how many episodes is it?
An incredible piece of luck. We were filming when the pandemic hit, and we did have to stop filming. But we were in a peculiar situation where our main unit had wrapped it just before Christmas 2019. And we had one standalone episode that we were filming in March, and it was separate from the other 7 episodes, because it was a standalone episode which Jack had written with the blessing and with input from Philip Pullman, which looked at what Asriel had been doing between going through the anomaly at the end of season 1 and when we see Lord Asriel at the beginning of book 3, The Amber Spyglass. Because Asriel isn't actually in the subtle knife. He's very much talked about, his presence is very much felt, but he's not actually there. So we played kind of detective with the subtle knife and figured out what Asriel might have been doing. For us, it meant that we could continue post-production on the 7 episodes that make up the subtle knife, and just put the Asriel standalone episode to one side, and maybe at some point in the future we can revisit it as a standalone. But essentially our adaptation of the subtle knife had been completed, so we were really lucky from that point of view.
Wow, that is so impressive, and that's probably one of.
It doesn't seem like many episodes. I thought there'd be more than the first season.
Writers and artists turning on a dime.
So I'm pretty sure the first season was 8.
Yes,
and just
amazing team,
so amazing.
Yes.
And Jack, I get the sense you don't like to toot your own horn, but I will ask you, is there something that you're so excited, aside from what she has just described, which sounds so impressive, is there a sequence from the books that you have written for season 2 that you're very excited for fans to see, that just makes you smile when you think about it?
There's a beautiful piece in the book that I have dreamt about writing for a very long time, and I was watching it today, and it is magnificent, and it is heartbreaking, and so yes, I would probably say that. But there's so
Someone's gonna die.
And my DMs are open, and you can send it over for me to watch it.
So I wanted to ask the actors, what have you learned about each other that is the strangest thing that you couldn't have predicted? Does anyone have any habits on set? Does someone have strange music tastes? Does someone have strange food or snack preferences? Does anything come to mind? I'll start with Lynn, because I feel like he's going to have an answer to that.
I hope I'm not speaking out of school, Andrew Scott. But one of the things, first of all, you have no idea what it's like to be cooped up in a hot air balloon with Andrew Scott while Fleabag is peaking in the United States. From women I hadn't talked to in years. And I went out, you're in a balloon with Hot Priest. But we were in a balloon for a long time, so we got to be very good friends, and we got to hang out a lot. But I think the first thing we bonded over was the television show Judge Judy. Of which Mr. Scott is an enormous fan of both Judy and her bailiff and their inner life. And we spent a lot of time talking about that.
That is unexpected for sure.
I also introduced Lynn. The British people watching will recognize this, but I introduced him to a very British snack, which is a thing called a Percy pig.
Oh, yes. Yes. Percy pigs.
Gelatinous pigs that you can get in a thing.
I'm British and I don't know what that is.
Judge Judy and Percy Pigs in Lee Scoresby's balloon.
Cultures connect.
The foundation of a strong friendship.
I don't think I've ever heard of that. I'm gonna have to Google that.
On set, Arian did this thing where he made everyone, you know the advert, L'Oreal, because you're worth it. He made everyone go, Boreal, because you're worth it.
He made me do it in Spanish, like, he made us do it. Everyone in there, like, was crazy. It was like proper trend on set. Like, everyone was there, L'Oreal, because you're worth it.
Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. This has been such an inspired, fun conversation, and we're so honored that you would take the time to join us, and also that you worked so hard in making this television show, which, by the way, at a time when we've never needed television so much. So congratulations on an incredible achievement. And season 2 of His Dark Materials premieres this fall on HBO and BBC. And if you haven't already, please be sure to catch up on season 1. And
I
Jane, tell
have.
us the best way for people to watch season 1, just in case they may not know.
BBC iPlayer if you're in the UK, and through HBO Max if you're anywhere else.
Wonderful. And those are global services, which is very handy. And I just wanted to say thank you so much, and please join us on Twitter shortly with some cast for a live Q&A, and you can ask any questions that we may not have gotten to today. And thank you again, and congratulations, and stay well, everyone.
And thank you. Bye.
That was a pretty good panel. Now we go watch the New Mutants one, you know, fool.